Mr. Speaker, following the announcement I made on February the 12th and an oral statement to the House last Thursday, members will know that our prisons are in crisis. The male prison estate has been running at around 99% capacity for 18 months, and we now know that my predecessor warned 10 Downing Street of the perils of inaction. And rather than address this crisis, the former Prime Minister called an election and left us a time bomb ticking away. This has left us with only one option to avert disaster. The statutory instrument that we are considering today will change the law so prisoners serving eligible standard determinate sentences will have their automatic release point adjusted to 40 rather than 50% of their sentence. This will mean that around 5,500 offenders will be released in 2 tranches in September and October.
Now, if I may gently open and start my remarks, the front bench, if I may, clearly are making a great deal of play about the role of the last government and the decisions that took place in the last Parliament. But it is quite telling that one of the first pieces of this legislation this government is seeking to pass is that one that basically looks at the early release of prisoners, 5,500 in a matter of weeks. But she also has touched on the previous Parliament, and I think for the record I would just like to say to colleagues, in the previous Parliament we saw actually Labour MPs campaigning to block the removal of foreign national offenders from being deported from our prisons. We saw them oppose the Police Crime Courts and Sentencing Act and the tougher sentences that were introduced for sexual and violent offenders, and I do want to come on to the release of some of these offenders shortly as well. They oppose the life sentences for people smugglers in the Nationality and Borders Act, which we do know is making a difference. And so it is concerning that now with this release of 5,500 prisoners and reducing the time of most offenders stay in custody from 50% to 40%, it's going to cause concern with the public and particularly the victims of crime.